Hello, welcome to Animal Audit Corner. Well, don't I got a show for you today? Who is the next one in line to take on Scientology and win? Her name is Alexis. Now, she didn't really set out to do this. She just ran into it accidentally. Alexis, a program coordinator from Orlando, Florida, and by her interaction to her, she seems to be filled with so much joy. I mean, her personality was really out there. Megan had a run-in with Scientology 3 years ago and did this young woman has her spirit so high that she is unbelievably bright, smart, and intelligent. I'm telling you, Megan is really known what she was saying. She really knew what and seems she is so intuitive with herself. She is really very observant and is very aware with the world around her, especially when it came to Scientology. She figured out that the people that she ran into were members of a cult, and we should all learn from her, since she knew it off the bat and was not vulnerable about it. She didn't even get herself suckered in. So I think we should learn from this, especially me, because you know what? I have to admit, I get suckered in every time. I shouldn't. I don't see it right away, but since it's Scientology and it's out there, then I know not to deal with those people. Now that it's out, she experienced firsthand on what was going on, and those people were trying to con her out of her money. And you know who that would be. That would be the first sign of a criminal organization. They use the movie industry to wheel victims in, including her. The signs in those people dressed the same way and didn't wear different clothing. That's the second sign of a cult. The third sign is that those people didn't have any critical thinking and was discouraged from thinking for themselves. Sign is that they would make an atmosphere that would make another person fearful, and that's their environment that those people are in. That's their environment. The fifth would be that there's a lack of clarity and unable to think for themselves when it comes to a cult, including Scientology. Then the woman that Megan ran into was very controlling and very demanding and tried to create fear for her of a cult, and it's Scientology, because it is a cult. Here are other signs of a cult. A cult leader always demands loyalty from their followers and won't let them ask questions about. They recruit members and shower them with excessive love bombing. That's more than that would be the sign of love bombing. They would use more affection and use excessive amount of caregiving and too much affection. That would be a sign of a cult. They would love. Now, it wouldn't be the same as a mother and father loving their child, because they don't expect anything out of them and then abuse them. Of course, some parents are into child abuse, but that's far beside the point. Those parents don't expect anything out of it, but cults do. They love them. They love bomb them so much that they end up sometimes getting what they want and sometimes they don't. If another person sees through it, then they don't. Others, they might. And there are a lot of people who fall prey. They could also exploit their members sexually, emotionally, and financially, and just keep on squeezing money out of them nonstop. That's what Scientology does. They would also use black and white thinking to create an alternative reality, and that's what a cult leader wants. That's what they create for their members. They would also use ways to too much discipline on all their members and won't let them pursue interests or goals that they like. That's what and that's what Megan Alex ran into when she took those acting classes without doing background checks. And Scientology used it to wheel her in. Here's a clip that I have of
look out for in terms of personality disorders, but it's like you guys are running a whole cult operation where you guys are brainwashing people and slowly but surely, you know what I'm saying, inching their way into your psyche to where you think that these people have a certain control and like just capability over you. Like, it's just so weird, but the way they do it is just so, it's shicey, you guys. Like, I really did not even know. I swear I did not know that this place was Scientology. And even if I did, like, I didn't know, but even when I found out, I kind of still didn't really even know what Scientology was. Like, I had heard about it, but I didn't really know that much in depth about who they were. Y'all, child, I say when I went home and I started doing a little bit of research, and I think I came across it was like a.
And there it is. That was her encounter with. She managed to see right through their act and cut them off permanently. And that's what she did when she figured out who. See, she didn't even get herself suckered into it. Their tactics to their tactics. But there are some people in the world that are vulnerable without realizing it. Because sometimes they experience the loss, broke up with their significant other, divorce, and death, which is another form of a loss. And that's what they use to reel people in. Some people are just at the low point of their life. And that's how they really get themselves in. Even though they might have the same pattern, but they would operate differently. Some cults would make up a god, which didn't even exist. And some would use Christianity. So that's a totally different from one another. One would operate differently than the other. All in all, she experienced firsthand on what was going on, and these people were trying to con her out of her money. Then, nevertheless, a cult would almost exploit her emotionally and financially. But thank God she didn't get they didn't exploit her sexually. Thank God. She came out of it fine. She was thankfully. Now, personal items and money are just objects. They cannot replace a person. So every life should be valued when they're on earth, including a person. Another person treating another person with disrespect that way should be. Then overall, the leader always demands loyalty from their followers and won't let them ask questions about it. But Megan didn't. She figured out, because that lady that tried to didn't really seem like she let her do that to her by the way she was describing it. That was in the beginning part of the video, but I showed you an example of what she said that Scientology was doing to her. But then at the end, she would triumph over Scientology and didn't get suckered in by them. But unfortunately, others at the end are still in there. Then in conclusion, she didn't let that cult wheel her into their clutches. They would do that to people all the time. And as you recognize at the blue building, they didn't have those security guards to keep people out. They were there to keep people in. And that's what they did at the Flagline base because the way it was structured wasn't made to keep people out. It was meant to keep people in. And those barbed wires looked like knives. So Megan was really, really lucky when it came to that. And they have other tactics. It's real sad because there are people that escape them and live to tell about it, where other people tragically passed on. And it's all due because of Scientology. And some of them had mental illness and died from it. Others had illnesses and ailments. And some of the ailments they had, they would actually die from, like the case of Kirstie Alley, where she died from stage 4 cancer. And it's due because of Scientology telling her that she could audit her cancer away. That didn't happen. And she ended up getting stage 4 cancer. They don't let any of their members go see a doctor. No matter what Tom Cruise says, even though he suggested it at an interview, they don't let them go to a doctor. If it was the case, they would figure out, well, how they would actually cure it. But then if they figure out they can't do it, then to weasel themselves out of getting trouble, they let them go see a doctor. But usually they don't let them go see a doctor. They would tell them to audit whatever ailments that they have. And in Kirstie Alley's case, it was cancer. They gave her a high dose of niacin and had her sit in a sauna. They do that to each and every member that they have. Now, does David Miscavige do? But then, if they have a learning disability, they're not going to help them. They just think they can just throw them away. But you know what? It's real sad because Tom Cruise has dyslexia. He thinks Scientology cured him of that. No, it didn't. In fact, they're making it even worse by not letting him treat it and getting him to think that it's cute. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to actually threw all of my dollars into this. I spent money on this equipment right here in order to do this. And decided to actually, at first, well, I'm still am and still trying to look for another story dealing with Scientology and animal rights issue. I'm doing that too, and I'm also doing human rights when it comes. And then I decided to just also do the human rights activism because of the condition I have. I have a defect. I have ADHD and bipolar. I had it day one. And my parents, like every other parents, they tried to solve the problem. If they couldn't do it, they were trying to figure out where to put me. And then so I found out in 1976, well, years later into the future, into my 50s, I found out that bipolar was started to get recognized and put on the map in 1976. I don't think my parents knew it because it just came onto the map. So I don't think they knew it at the time. If they did, they would have taken care of it. But the fact that I found out I was bipolar when I was 22. And then when I was 35, I found out that I had one day when I was here, well, I found in Massachusetts where I was living, where I was born, in fact. I was put on medication and it helped a little bit. It did. It calmed me down. And then when I turned 26, my family insisted that I come here and live. And I made the biggest mistake by not asking where to actually, what mental health facility I should go. And while I was here, my symptoms started to spiral out of control, which a Scientologist would go through if they're in those four walls of Scientology. Because guess what? Scientology and OSA won't let doctor or a counselor. Then I spotted it. I mean, I decided, you know what? I'm out of medication. I don't have a mental health doctor here where I am, so I better look into it fast. And I was fine after taking my medication. Then more medications came onto the market, and I'm on these different medications, and they helped a lot. It's not a cure, it's a treatment. It will keep you grounded, relieve your symptoms, but it's not a cure. So it would be a sad story. In some cases, people in cults would die. In Scientology, they definitely did. Some of them from their own mental illness, like Lisa McPherson and where Lisa McPherson somehow was unconscious, but they did not call an ambulance to take her to the hospital. They stuck her in a car, and to make it worse, they did not go to the hospital that was a minute away. They passed 4 hospitals to finally have a doctor who was a Scientologist, and she died at that hospital. Lost his license for about a year, and then he somehow got it back. And Whitney Mills, she was just begging for help when she was feeling so terrified. And she was begging for help. They wouldn't give it to her. So instead, it's the same doctor that treated Lisa McPherson. And he had the nerve to give her the symptoms of Lyme disease, which she never even had. What mental illness does she have? That I don't know. But guess what? Her family. Now, it's outrageous that these people are still operating after all. Now, half the celebrities left, but there are still celebrities in Scientology like Jenna Elfman, John Travolta, Juliette Lewis, and Tom Cruise. Now, since he's best friends with David Miscavige, he would be at the level that he's in. And he turned into a narcissist. And that's David Miscavige just corrupted him big time. And you can tell because in the past, Tom Cruise gave a top-notch interview. They were all great interviews that he gave. But today, it's just his interviews are just so awful. With him criticizing Brooke Shields for being on medication to relieve her symptoms of, oh, geez, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot the name of what she had, but he criticized her for that. And then he had the nerve to go on an interview with Matt Lauder and start a fight about mental illness and medication, which would help a person, but Tom Cruise would call it pseudoscience. But guess what? Matt Lauder stood up for people who are on medication that was great. But then he had his own turmoil at the end. But it's still out there running around loose. Now, I don't think, since he's brainwashed, according to Aaron Smith Levin, he's the victim and the perpetrator. And also, he did an interview in Australia, or was it here? I don't know if it was here or in Australia, but an Australian journalist was interviewing him, and he was being so obnoxious. He was behaving like a jerk. Now, in the past, he did not give an interview, but now he does. And you heard the way he was screaming and rant at the crew. He was yelling at the entire crew. And he was shaking. So now it's really easy to run into the wrong people when you're in that industry. And David Miscavige is one of them. Okay. And the way he got in it was through Mimi Rogers. And now she's no longer in Scientology. Smart woman, but she still recruited. But you know what? Their numbers are going down. That's a great news, but we still have to hang in there and fight. Of course, I have another angle. I keep forgetting to use it, but you know what? It's the weekend and all the joints are closed, so I'll think of some way, somehow, to actually do my part in ending the abuses in Scientology and other cults. Now, I'm going to continue to do shows like this. It's not only a dream I have, it's an advocacy that I have. Now, I'm educated. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not trying to pretend to be one. But if anyone has any kind of mental illness of any kind, please don't go to a cult, especially Scientology, and think they can audit it out. No way they can do that. Go to a mental health profession. Now, it's at the link, or is in the link down below. And on all the other channels, I put a link at the bottom below to actually help anybody who escaped a cult to go to the link down below. Or better yet, I mean, even so, also Claire and Mark Hadley, I hope I said that name wrong, right, also has information on things like that. So if you happen to be in Scientology and escaped it, inquire about it, please. They will definitely help you, because they also have the resource and the monetary aid. And so does Aaron Smith Levin. Now, does he have all the information to a healthcare professional? I hope so. He didn't mention it, but I would think so. So ask him about him. But at the same time, go to the link down below all my other channels. And after I'm done editing this stream, I will definitely have other links down below. So that should do it for me. So hit the like, press subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow when I'm in my kitchen. All weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Bye for now.